pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Jarrett. Mr. Karafinski. Mr. Learn. Mr. Lewis. Mr. Mocha. Mr. Kanani. Mayor Burke. Damian.
Here.
Chief of Police. Here. Solicitor.
Here.
Engineering. DPW Foreman.
Here.
Reporters. Fire Chief. Code Enforcement. Review and approve the current agenda. Is there a discussion on the agenda?
I have nothing to add.
No additions? Motion? And a second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Presentation, Ms. Connie Donlin, Berwick Arts, project updates.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me. I'm Connie Donlin with Berwick Arts Association. Me, along with 9 board members, are doing the good work of bringing money in to the borough to help that revitalization and to show some momentum as we build the funding for all these big projects that we want to do. We've secured over $92,000 in funding last year. I definitely celebrated that with my board. I never think we would be able to achieve those numbers, but as we learn more and grow, we're getting up there. We're investing that into public art, events, and downtown improvements that bring people into town. The point being revitalization. So that Berwick is 14 in economic development. Congratulations. That's everyone's hard work, moving things forward and showing growth in Berwick. So good job to all the parties that are involved in getting that recognition. I'm here to update you with the projects. I'll keep them brief. We have 5 projects that we'll be working on in 2026. We have Art Hive, which is going to offer 20 workshops, with art creation being the main focus. You come, the materials are there, kids, all ages, and on up to develop artists. The Art Hive will be out of the McBride Library. We've been partnering with them with these workshops for several years now. She'll also be working with Mindfully Aligned, a business just across from the library, along with the farmers market. And again, it's just an art making opportunity. The artist is Nikki Sunday. She's been in the community for a while, doing these kinds of workshops. Second project this year will be 2 benches done by Drew. If you know the piece on Market Street, that style with the woodworking, it's a kind of a unique style. That he'll be making 2 benches. I'm in talks with the library. Potentially we'll be doing them in front of the library. Still at their board level of reviewing that. There'll be 2 more benches. The blueprints identified when we reached out to the public said they wanted more benches. And so we'll have 2 artful benches to place somewhere in town, hopefully at the library. We're also going to be funding 2 concert series. The new Sponsors Park, we're calling it, Sponsors Park Concerts, that we're working with Damian to finalize the numbers on that. So Berwick Arts will be giving money towards that music series, along with our coffee house series that we do the second Wednesday of every month. Come on out, check out the music. Live music just brings people around, and that's the point, bring people downtown. So overall, we're going to be offering 24 live music opportunities this year through those 2. That does not include the new winter concerts that are also in talks and have been successful so far this year as a pilot. So that's 2 concert series. That's a big push. We'll be taking the coffee house in house. We used to partner with the Exchange, and we'll be going into our 4th year with taking all our booking and stuff in-house to Berwick Arts, doing all the marketing and the whole thing. So the 4th project is a landscaping project. The landscaping project is, as I presented I think last year, was to be on the hillside going down Canal Street. Because we are working with some volunteers and getting this work done, it didn't feel like a safe place to put a bunch of volunteers. So Jack and I met this morning and have been in talks about moving that landscape project just above where those hills are, on that hillside. Jack said they normally have to mow that once a week. If we landscape it, that will cut out a lot of time. Well, not a lot of time, we still have a lot of work to do there in that park, but it'll cut out some time in mowing that area. So that's kind of a request, that we move the landscaping from the hillside to the more manageable area that will also help DPW and still achieve collecting the toxins from the runoffs from the street and whatnot. Including native planting in there to help introduce native planting, which just helps to grow the right plants in the right place. So, last project is St. Charles Park mural, that's gonna be on the side of the Nationwide building. We have our artist selection. The artist name he goes by is Have A Art. His name is Grayson. You may have met him at the Amazon event at the theater. He was one of our guest artists there. And he has over 20 years of experience, strong skills. If you check out his Instagram feed, you can kind of see everything from fine art on canvas painting to large scale murals. So we are working with him. I don't have a final design for you today, but we're working with him to flesh out a good idea to bring to you guys so that we can present that to you as soon as we have that. So those are kind of our projects. What we're doing is we're bringing in outside funding to help grow Berwick. And we're doing that through state, federal, and private sources. So we're really trying to hit all the marks and bringing the funding in and showing that movement through art, since it's one of the cheapest infrastructure things we can do at this time. We're not asking to be sustained by the borough. We just want to be a partner. We believe that the arts can be a tool for you guys and for the community to show the growth. We're driving downtown growth through the arts, and right now with the blueprints we've identified, that's our revitalization spot. Downtown is where we're focusing our energies as a community, and we will continue to do that. Our economic development, community development, and placemaking all in one. We're not just creating art, we're creating activity, connection, and momentum in Berwick, and I hope that you view us as a partner. Thanks very much.
I'd just like to say, I appreciate what you're doing, and everything you've done has been well done, very tasteful, and it's improvement. And I think I can say for all of us, we appreciate the hard work. We know what it's like to raise money in today's environment, so we appreciate the work you guys do.
Thanks, Connie. Good work, Connie. Leslie Osterman, City Talk.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you. Been here a while. I'm here tonight for Berwick's first public hearing for federal fiscal year 2026 CDBG program. I will warn you that I'm going to be a little longer winded than normal, as this is the first public hearing, so there's lots of important stuff to go over tonight. This hearing is the borough's first step in the process of drafting its federal fiscal year 2026 to 2030 5-year consolidated plan. This is really first time for me going through this process, a little bit different, but very, very much the same as well. Because we're also doing the 2026 annual action plan at the same time. So I usually start off with giving just a little bit of history of the CDBG program. It was created through an act of Congress. Funds for these grants come from the federal government through HUD. $277,420, which is almost level with last year's amount of $277,477. So that's good. Next, I would like to direct your attention to the application schedule, which should be in your packets. If anyone needs that, I do have extras with me. But just some of the key dates to note. After tonight's public hearing, I'll begin outreach and consultation with partner organizations for updates and input into the consolidated plan. That'll go through probably the end of May. Project selection is scheduled for the June 15th council meeting. A draft of the consolidated plan will go out for a 30-day comment period from June 26th through July 26th. And there'll be a final public hearing sort of in the middle there at the July 20th council meeting. And then the finalized consolidated plan will be submitted to HUD by August 14th. Are there any questions about the schedule, how that process works at all? Next, to talk a little bit about eligibility and fundability. For a project to be eligible under CDBG, it needs to meet both things. Eligibility just means that it meets, criteria, it falls under a list of things that really is includes a broad range of activities such as infrastructure improvements. So we're talking about road reconstruction, sewer, storm sewer, improvements to community centers, historic preservation, economic development activities, and public service projects. Activities that are not eligible for funding include political activities, general maintenance and operating expenses, equipment, as well as any activity that is of general governmental function. So fundability is a little trickier. This means that the project must meet one of 3 national objectives. The most common is principal benefit to low, moderate income persons. In order to meet this objective, 51% of individuals benefiting from the project must be of low, moderate income, and then a minimum of 70% of the borough CDBG funds must be used to meet this objective. The second national objective is elimination of slum of light, which must be used for spot or area-based demolition of deteriorated structures. A maximum of 30% of CDBG funds may be used here. And then the third, which is not very often, it's kind of a rare objective that gets used, is urgent need, which requires a formal declaration of disaster or emergency within the last 18 months. Any questions about eligibility or national objectives? As far as how to apply, again, none of this is really new information to you all, but maybe some folks in the room here may be interested, have organizations that may be interested in submitting a project summary. But it's important that you have a detailed project description, a map of the proposed service area, so who are the beneficiaries of the project, who is being helped or served by the project, a detailed project budget, as well as a timeline, recognizing that these funds, because this is federal fiscal year 2026 funding, will not actually be available until about this time next year. So if you have projects that need to be completed sooner than that, this would really not be a good fit for those projects. But then, of course, national objective justification, and then as far as ranking, projects that are submitted will be evaluated for both eligibility and national objective. If the project does meet both, it'll be ranked based on financial need, timeliness, and whether it meets the long-term goals of the borough. Any questions about how to apply for the funding? So next I usually go over some of the important documentation that is included. So the fair housing notice, it is Fair Housing Month, so fair housing notices have just gone out and are being published in the local newspapers. A copy of that notice is attached to your hearing packet. And fair housing is a requirement for each entitlement that states it will not discriminate in the sale, rental, lease, financing, or brokerage of housing within the borough. And then a copy of the anti-displacement plan, which was just readopted last year, is attached to the hearing packet as well. This policy describes the steps that we take to minimize displacement of persons from their home as a result of any CDBG assisted activity, and must include a plan for replacement of units and relocation displaced, but it is always the intent of the borough to undertake CDBG activities which do not result in displacement. And then the 504 annual review, I think there's a review attached in your packet. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and its implementing regulations state that no individual with a disability shall solely based on his disability be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Borough does not discriminate in access to, participation in, or treatment of, or employment in any of its programs or activities. And then finally, the section 3 preference statement, which you'll find at the bottom of your agenda. I'm not gonna read that verbatim to you. And if there's anybody interested, or businesses, individuals who wanna learn more about section 3 requirements, I invite them to contact me or reach out to our community development project or community development program, for more information. So again, today's public hearing is the first step in the process of creating an annual action plan and a 5-year consolidated community development plan. We'll begin the development of these plans by reviewing some of the borough's recently completed and upcoming CDBG projects. So, recently completed projects, and these were all completed last year in 2025, would include Washington Street reconstruction, and that happened from 3rd Avenue to Freeze, I believe. That's the section that was done last year, including curb and sidewalk improvements as well. There was also removal of blighted structures, phase 4, that was full demolition of vacant buildings throughout the borough. And then finally, I believe at the end of October, Sponsor Park improvements was completed. That included expanded play area, accessible pathways, new lighting, resurfaced basketball court, amphitheater, and accessible shaded picnic area. Haven't had a chance to get down there yet. I should definitely check that out. It's a beautiful park. Some of the upcoming projects are happening this year into next year would be Warren Street reconstruction. That section, I believe, is from 4th to 5th. And then removal of blighted structures, phase 5. I think those buildings are still being determined at this point. Maybe like, well,
It was kind of fluid, we didn't nail that down.
not quite, but I think we're gonna do like a little micro.
There won't be as many as in some of the past rounds, we have a couple to take care of.
So this time I'd like to give the public the opportunity to comment on any projects that were funded with previous CDBG allocations, including any potential historical or environmental impacts. Do you have any public comments on past projects or anything upcoming? Questions at all? And then I would next then like to give the public and council the opportunity to propose any projects or discuss new project ideas.
So we have a few things, potential, one being in the second phase of the Warren Street paving. There's a second section of that we have on the table as a possibility. I know we've been be careful with that with I think from a block group, we decided as long as we don't come right up against the rear 11, we should be okay. There's potential for further demolitions, whether that's residential or the incinerator. It's kind of that always outstanding issue. And two things that we actually just kind of talked about internally here today that may or may not be eligible, but let's throw them out there. One was we actually had a citizen reach out with a concern about traffic on West Front Street, so going north on Route 11, and a couple of recent accidents that have resulted in cars jumping the curb, and concerned about car potentially hitting houses. And it's tough because it is a PennDOT street, and there's a limit to how much we can do, but one thought that we had, kind of based off something that we know Briar Creek Borough did with county CDBG dollars.
You're trying to say it too fast and then you're like, I know.
I don't give myself permission to pause sometimes, that's the problem. But CDBG dollars in Briar Creek Borough was that your speed electronic sign on Park Road, between the acute issue that was talked about in that specific area with cars kind of coming around the split and going fast around there, but also the idea of slowing down traffic as it does move into a more pedestrian heavy downtown area, I think would be a very appropriate spot for something like that, the one that would tell you how fast you're going, and if it's too fast, maybe give you that fun blue and red light to remind you to slow down. It's not perfect, it doesn't fix it, but it can be very helpful in a lot of cases. And obviously with that specific issue that's brought up, we'll keep brainstorming other things, but that was a maybe possibility. And the other ones, we have talked about here recently, and that's the idea of cameras in Sponsler Park. We've, as we said, there are temporary or kind of Band-Aid solutions that can be, quick and easy and fairly cheap. But if we want something that is going to reliably get quality footage that's accessible without actually removing the camera and, from off-site, it is a bigger project, similar to what we did down at Test Track. The guy, I don't know if that would be an allowable thing or not, it is an upgrade to the park that we just upgraded with CDBG dollars last year, and it's to protect that investment. So I'm hopeful, but it's just something that we thought of this morning as a maybe. So I'm sure you would want to do your due diligence on whether that's okay or not before giving it your blessing on it. But
Yeah, for sure, but I think just off the top of my head, I'm thinking that these are both, these new things that you just brought up tonight, they relate to community safety, which obviously is important. It just makes it a little bit tricky, it has some very tough restrictions, that we have to consider.
I do think, obviously we know Sponsler is in the okay footprint economically.
Yeah.
West Front Street, and I should have looked at this, and I think that's in an LMI zone that is okay for us. Now, obviously, it's a big street, and that there's more things to, but it is, if we can tie in protecting the houses right there, it's more than the downtown space.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, the speed, the traffic control is probably more cut and dry actually than the camera situation. I would probably say that, it would be harder to do the traffic control sign, because they'll probably come back and say that's equipment, and that's, for the borough to handle.
I wasn't sure, just that I knew that Briar Creek actually did it, and they're a DC county, which, just a thought.
Yeah, no, I think it would be a higher risk situation,
Sure.
and down to monitoring, and, just really have to have good justification for it, so I'll have to look more at that.
If it's something the council has an appetite for, maybe it's even worth us reaching out to, the county and seeing exactly what they did as far as their justification. I know it's not apples to apples, but it's this ultimately coming from the same pot of money, it just theirs has the extra step of coming through.
My only other concern with that one is, the service area.
Yes, and that's
it's
50.
kind of a throughway
It is.
to a more commercial area, and so it's a broader service area that maybe doesn't fit into that 51% down the line. But as far as cameras, obviously park improvements, are eligible, and we just completed a project at Sponsler. So I agree with you that it could be viewed as an additional, improvement and also an investment too, or security to the investment, but, I'm wondering if now that the project is already complete, how we can squeeze that in.
It's a new project.
It's a new, yes, but it would be a standalone and also might be seen as equipment.
The project's not complete, we haven't got paid out for it.
So there's some, there's definitely some details I would need to work through a little bit, but I'm just thinking as a HUD, compliance reviewer, which is not a very fun to do in my head, but, I've kind of gotten to this place after 2 years, and I'm just check out.
And obviously, at the end of the day, if the answer to one or both is no, we have little faithfuls of paving and demolition,
Right.
but we always like to say that we get creative with the project from time to time, especially if it's something that we're probably, the cameras especially, going to have to do out of pocket. If we can find the funding source, it makes sense to at least look into it.
Yeah, are we having some issues at the park?
A little bit, yeah, something we definitely want to see improve, and, just, protect the residents, protect the borough, protect the equipment, just.
Sure.
So if we were to put cameras in on our own and we do qualify, would we be able to get paid back when it comes time for or is that we have to wait until?
We could do something maybe temporary, like, is it like a Band-Aid in the interim, but whatever was the actual final product, you definitely have to wait and go through the process, which,
So at the end of the summer.
I mean, again, I am basing this off of what we did at Test Track and what our IT has said as far as, the need to secure equipment. It's low 5 figures,
Says addenda.
very low 5 figures, but I mean,
Their presentation, she
a
already
lot
asked
more
for
than
public comment.
Listen, no offense
She
to
already did the CDBG go.
CBG,
for
but
the public hearing.
I think that's something we should.
and if that's what council wants to just go ahead and move forward, I'm sure that our,
The
I want the
association has a
nonsense to
public
stop.
hearing.
That's the way the
And then,
nonsense
why do you wanna
stops.
comment on something?
that's fine, I mean, it makes your life easier if you're not even looking into it, right?
Well,
So,
the other thing to consider too with CDBG is it would have to be a permanently
Okay, so
installed
this
distribution.
is-
Absolutely.
Not a
and we know that that's what our, we have down,
Yeah.
that's just all very,
Public
very
comment,
permanent.
it's not ready for
A lot of
action.
relays and, line of sight in different places, and it's a complicated system, so, and it allows us to access it remotely. And it's, you don't have to pull the camera off to view what's on the camera, and it's been helpful in a few situations to identify some things. So, yeah, I mean, listen, if that's what council wants to do, then we can just, I can get a price from, our IT provider on a good, just look at the current system, but.
That's what I've asked for that quote already, it hasn't come back yet, specific to do that.
And maybe if it comes back a little saltier than we were hoping, we come back and say, oh, let's see.
I would think it'd be easier to camera sponsors than test track.
The issue is, as I understood it, and I am not IT, is at Test Track, we had a secure place to house the main unit that runs everything. And then the complicated part down there was getting line of sight to get from spot to spot to spot within the park. At Sponsor, you're gonna have less trouble, getting line of sight because there's less places that we want over a much more compact area. It's having that initial place, to house the main part of the unit. Like, when we were talking about it, the question there and for Vine Street, in the same conversation was, can we find a way to get line of sight to City Hall or to Test Track? And the answer is no. That would make it easier, so then it comes down to, do we need to construct or jerry-rig something to, secure a unit there that people are not able to break into? We don't want the equipment that is protecting the park to get destroyed itself, so. Yeah. That, Jack, I mean, did that kind of mirror, I know we had those conversations with the cameras, that your understanding on why Test Track was, a little simpler than other locations?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other things that made the test track a little bit more difficult too. So, I mean, I don't know, it would be interesting to see what they really, come up with.
Yeah.
'Cause
You could build some kind of box or something, Jack, and just.
Well, I think we could,
Put it up high.
sure,
And it has to be, weatherproof.
but there's.
It's not interesting, that's the answer.
They're out there, my Jackson cabinets is a great example. You can buy a cabinet similar to that.
We'll just put a little hidden compartment in the back of the free little pantry and, yeah.
Hey, Greg,
If you get that quote back, bring it.
Yeah, as soon as it comes in.
Yes, if you posted on that one, if we need to look into a little
But,
further.
yeah, but we do have at least one more section of the paving project that we feel pretty good on, and we have,
Come up with many, many more.
we certainly can. It's hard, we have to balance the ability to qualify them, but then we can certainly find some. And then we have demolition, including potentially looking at the incinerator. And I don't, we do need to get a price on, an estimate on that one before deciding moving forward. Unfortunately, the residential ones, it never totally stops, but it could be worth it to take a break for a year or two to get the incinerator taken care of.
Okay. Any other project ideas, either from council or from public?
Making our downtown more handicap accessible.
So unfortunately with CDBG, we can't really, we have to benefit primarily residential and not commercial. So that's where we get hung up.
Curb cuts are generally speaking
Curb
pretty
cuts
okay,
are,
aren't they?
there's already curb cuts there.
But that's about the only
Yeah.
easy piece.
Yeah, cause you're talking about removal of architectural barriers and that, yeah, so it's qualified, it's still low water income, but it's presumed population.
Right.
So it's a little.
But I
bit
think in
different.
our downtown, the curb cuts are the one spot that's actually pretty okay.
Yeah.
So like Reagan's Alley behind downtown and Eagle Building, that wouldn't qualify when you come off the bridge, once they finish the T Center
Oh, good.
Doing one year
for paving.
for paving.
It wouldn't, I mean, it's right in the downtown, I can guarantee you, it would be primarily commercial, I mean, it's used primarily to access the parking lot and the back of the stores. There's nobody's using that for residential. Maybe one or two apartments, but generally speaking, it's not being used for any residential purposes, it would be almost impossible to qualify.
That's another bad
It is,
roadway, but no use fixing it till
I'm sorry, what was it?
Josh's.
That alley between
Reagan's Alley.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know if that qualified for.
no, that would be.
Well, that would be, yeah, that wouldn't be able,
That is,
because
like,
the municipal parking lots there, the,
We could use liquid fuels, right?
yeah, I mean, we're dancing around with, liquid fuels though, to, match the, grants that we received, so.
We're trying to stretch those dollars as best we can, and that means finding projects that, yeah, it's always, I mean, council knows.
It's always a balancing act, and, we try to do our best to get as many grants as we can, and this is one way to do it with the CDBG funding, and just qualifying it is a little bit of a challenge, but, I mean, at the end of the day, there's, a lot of alleys that are in need as well, which would qualify, that we haven't even touched yet. So, I know that's not a very popular thing, but if this is the way we can use the funding, I think it's an opportunity that we don't wanna miss out on, so.
And Jack, I'd be more than happy to give you a list of all those alleys of,
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
or you could just, drive down any of them and realize, but,
Just go to the back of your house.
So at this point, any other comments, questions, concerns in regards to the,
and I know IOU got 1 million time cards, I finally got halfway through the park ones today.
Up tonight.
I got halfway through the park ones today, and then Tom came in and killed my momentum, so I'm gonna blame you, Gary, so I would've, hopefully, I'm hoping tomorrow I will have the park ones done and codes this week too. I just had to say, nothing else is happening until I get this done, because it's not hard, but it's time consuming to get through and speed
I'm
up.
sure it is, I know, and I appreciate that, we would close it out, get you reimbursed. Okay, well, hearing no other, further comments, I will close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Citizen correspondence, personal appeals for agenda items only. No? Okay. Reports of committees.
You're gonna discuss zoning later today. I would like to make some comments about zoning, this ongoing process.
We've already moved on. Reports of committees, I'm sorry.
There won't be any action, and you can talk at the end, just.
Reports of committees.
Public comment at the end.
I just,
You're good, go ahead.
the search warrant, Frank, is that a no-go or a go or?
I've got, one started here that I gave to Damien tonight, but I will forewarn you that there's some stuff that's a little bit up in the air with what an appellate court did in the latter part of last year, so we're working on that.
If we don't go that way, can we pull that license for that property or no? If that property was inspected and there's issues with it, and now they can't access that issue area because of forgotten keys or and no, you're not getting in anymore, the basement, then I'm gonna assume the issues are still there.
I think so, and I think the fact that locks were, filled with, crazy glue or something like that to get people coming in, makes it a stronger case. But there's just some other things that I really don't wanna discuss at this point, based on a case involving Pottstown.
So I just didn't know if we can go, instead of that, go a different way to get, cause if there's issues of what weren't fixed, there's be a liability with the property anyway.
Yes.
Just wanna throw it out there, just to.
I understand, I mean, basically, this case that I'm talking about, they talk about the competing, interests of the borough and the owners of the property, et cetera, but I'm on it. So,
I just, I don't know if you go.
No, going with. I have a thing,
Should have asked.
so this morning, after 1 o'clock, it could be a safety issue or a police issue. We have an ordinance for the homeless. Code Blue is done now. But at 1:18 this morning, the fire department was called. Is that correct, Bill? From what I heard?
That is correct.
For someone on the Canal Street side or somewhere on the riverbank, 66-year-old guy. So the volunteers at 118 risked their own life going down the riverbank. And when they got down there with their ropes and whatever they used, the guy refused to leave, and he said he's good. So, if he's on the railroad property, the water company property, borough property, if there's an ordinance,
Ignoring the ordinance for a second, because as it sits right now, all the property owners down there have officially given us word that they don't want anybody on any of those properties. We actually requested. They have, so we'll
so
do
they
that.
don't want anybody on their
They don't want
property.
anybody down those properties. That, where everybody is currently at right now is actually entirely rail authority property, and they're even parking cars pretty close to the tracks. The rail authority reached out at the end of last week, Thursday or Friday, that they're pretty concerned with them being down there. So today we requested, that the homeless liaison from the county to actually go down and meet with everybody. There's currently 3 people residing down there, 2 of which have said that they will accept services to help try to get placement somewhere else. The 3rd individual, it just so happens to be the same individual that right towards the winter said the same thing. He does not consider himself more or less homeless. He lives off the grid and he says he's not going anywhere. Next step after that will be, again, we've been requested down by the rail authority. We'll go down next week and let them know it's trespassing. It's not a matter of a camping ordinance, they're trespassing at this point. But we're not trying to just instantly move them along. We're trying to make sure that they have services, that they have somewhere genuine to go. So over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll have some other.
Right, and I'm not saying anything about the homeless, but if people that don't want help, why are these guys risking their lives?
No, and
to
that's,
go
that's,
down there
that was a
for-
that's a full-fledged technical rescue. Like, that's dangerous what they had to do over the.
Right, it wasn't like daytime, it was.
I hate to say, before that even happened, the plan was already in motion, we'd already put the request in from county to go down to offer the resources. I hate to say, when the weather broke and the shelters were being closed, this was the idea, is if the encampment popped back up, that they would be offered services and then be likely get firmly told at that point they're now trespassing. They can't stay there. That's kind of where we're at.
As long as we got the permission from home.
We did, we now have, essentially from the test track all the way down, that entire, from the tracks over, that is, all that land has essentially been spoken for of, they don't want anybody just for safety concerns. Can't get anybody down there.
We got one more, Greg. You got one, This would be another police issue, maybe. I noticed in the paper or on Facebook, some of these communities and municipalities are doing the 287G program. Is that something we could look into, or what? I don't know anything else about it except for what's in the paper. But if these surrounding municipalities are part of that, I just don't want people coming here from those municipalities and hanging out here.
I said, in the end, that wouldn't be my decision. I can get more information and bring it here, but this was originally, the program was brought to all of the chiefs by an ICE agent in the middle of last year. At that meeting, I mean, they do make those promises, 100 grand, all this different money, but it seemed apparent at that money that there's no such thing as a free lunch, that there is.
Well, no.
There are things expected of who's ever signing up, a lot of which come with a lot of liability. At that time when I evaluated it, it didn't necessarily seem worth it.
I'm not looking at the money aspect, I'm looking at the clientele aspect of
Which
the
I,
residents.
which I can understand, and if that were to necessarily be the fear, I mean, as a police department, we cooperate with all federal agencies. As it sits right now, we don't go out and do any type of immigration enforcement in that aspect, but when we arrest people for violent crimes and then they're returned to Columbia County, the immigration is absolutely informed that that's taking place. So.
I'm just looking out for us.
And I just wanna kind of pile on what Reagan said there. You know, I was at a labor law conference about 3 weeks ago, and the last session of the week was specifically about this program. It's put on by the largest labor law firm in the state, and their unequivocal recommendation was to avoid this program. The liability that you take on is not worth whatever financial benefit there might be. Obviously, you may take that for as you will, but that whatever protections might be in place federally for ICE agents, they would not be assumed by local law enforcement as they were undertaking any activities. So, I mean, yeah, that was the strong recommendation. And Jay, you were at that same conference. If I'm speaking, please stop me. But I think that
No,
was what
you
they.
were correct, and I'm gonna tell you guys, you know, I've been here a long time, I remember, where PD got left holding the bag on the South Street by Immigration, National Relation, whatever they were called back then. It was their raid. One of the people that in the house recognized one of our officers, and that's who got named in the lawsuit. And INS walked away.
I'm just looking out,
I
I don't
get it,
want
Tom, but
people from Hazelton coming down here to,
Reagan is.
I didn't know anything about the money aspect or anything, I just,
Well, that's why some of these municipalities are so quite frankly. But there's a huge legal liability that we need to be aware of before we create anything.
I'm just looking out.
And again, we've
See.
been burned once by the predecessor ones.
At the end of the day, there's nothing preventing the Berwick police from, if a violent individual or a criminal individual who also happens to be running afoul of immigration makes himself known in the borough. I mean, you don't have to sign this agreement to deal with it.
No. It's a different level of enforcement. I should say, there's different models of enforcement with it. One of the major ones is the task force model. That's what you see when it comes to the marshal service, the drug task force, things like that. It is an entire task force, and when an officer is going and operating with that task force, they actually fall into that liability. Remember, the marshals violent fugitive task force, when I am out with them doing something, I'm fully on their dime. The other version of that is what they consider the warrant officer one. That seems to be the one that I think most of these agencies are signing up with. That is essentially just authorizing that specific officer to engage in immigration enforcement by those warrants. On the side of a traffic stop for the most benign thing, if they were to come up with a warrant for that, they can then take them. It seems to be that some, and again, like that's now where the liability is. That is now our officers are not operating as part of the task force. They are 100% operating as a Berwick police officer and just be fully engaged in immigration enforcement. So it's like that little disconnect there really changes where the liability kind of sits. But again, it's like I can do more research on it. I can absolutely bring it in and give what I have to everybody, so everybody has an idea of exactly what we're looking at.
If you're for real, we do want to come to.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the police department for, controlling the speed of traffic coming through uptown. Last week, it was a scene, man. Greg Martin was out there, and I'm telling you, he'd pull someone over and he'd go back and he'd have someone pull over again, and it was just all day long, and everybody in town was talking about it. So I would encourage you, if you need to do that for a few more weeks, man, I would.
So that specific That specific bit was through an aggressive driving grant, and as much as we all appreciate being able to go out and do that, I mean, that grant, that was over $1,000 spent pretty quickly. So it's the type of things we can do that, but it can become cost prohibitive really quick. I should say that level of enforcement, there were 5 of us out for a 4-hour period, just absolutely hammering it, like.
And you're right, I turned my head one, in her background, like somebody different pulled over just that
Yeah.
fast, I mean, it was.
Yeah, so some people were very appreciative, some people were not really happy about it. Oh, there's absolutely a speed problem in multiple locations around town. We tried to target as many of them as we could. That's what then also brought up the conversation about that potential radar speed device there in the 400 block, because that bend right there in the 400 block, we get accidents there, we have rollovers, people ping pong through the cars. We think if we can slow them down to the 400 block, that's that much slower going into the business district where everybody's doing all this hard work, so.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share really quickly, I don't know if I should actually call it the winter concert series anymore since it was 80 degrees last week, but that's what we called it. And the last of those concerts is next week, the 30th, at the theater, 7 to 9 p.m. And it is all that glitters. Thank you. A campfire bacon stuck in my head. They're not called that anymore, and I wasn't going to find all that glitters. The first 2 have been incredible. Nice, really good sized crowds, a lot of fun, a lot of really great energy. As I'm holding the door at the end, people leaving in both cases, it's just people all kinds of happy and thankful and keep doing this. And, it's going really well. There is already grant funding in place to, and thanks to the Arts Association for preparing that for next year. So the borough can be a part of that, and you're gonna be a part of that. We can all make this happen, hopefully all over again. So that being said, it is the last of our winter concerts next Thursday. So if anyone is around and available, even if you want to stop in for a little bit, it is a very good time with a crowd that loves music and dancing and has really appreciated the theater offers there. So yeah.
I have a question about, it might have already been posted, I don't know what saying, but spring brush. Is there a spring brush day?
Yep, next
We
week.
probably were gonna get to that, I got it.
That's okay, I
Okay, sorry.
appreciate it.
I had a couple questions about it, so.
But yeah, it's Monday through Thursday.
Okay, next week.
And then Thursday night, we have the concert to celebrate the end of Rush Pickup, so.
Anybody else? Reports and committees, you good? Business not ready for action, the zoning update.
So you will have in your email this evening, 2 items. One is a usage table. So what that's going to do is it's going to list what we hope for the moment is every conceivable defined use for property here in the borough, and a chart letting you know with each of our different zones, property zones, if it's allowable, if it's a P for permitted, conditional use, which is where council makes a determination, or special exception, which is where the zoning hearing board makes a decision. And then if there's nothing listed, anything can always be applied for by variance, but that's a much stricter way of doing things. So you will have a proposed table, and you will have a proposed definitions update. Both of them are meaty documents. It was my hope that you will all take a little bit of time over the next few days here and see if anything jumps out at you as problematic in either direction, either too strict or too lenient. And if as we then have the public conversation on it, you are prepared to actually have that conversation. No need to tonight, just be aware those are the 2 things you're getting. And yes, they are going to be something for you to get through, and there's gonna be more to come, but those are the first 2 pieces. So please give them the due diligence that they deserve as far as getting this done right when I get them out to you. And I will have those sent out before I leave here this evening. I will email them to you, and if you
get them and you say, man, I really wish I had this printed out, you let me know, and I will print out a copy and I will hand deliver it to you if need be, whatever it takes for you to be able to adequately view and analyze those documents and make decisions.
Lease, vacation, holiday carryover.
So I honestly intended to have this as an action item, and as I was going back through my list and Reagan's list and all of that, it got missed as being an action item, but I wanted to at least mention it so that the guys downstairs at least can see, you know, we mean that we're going to move forward with it. Again, same thing, you know, think a little bit. I do intend to have an action item in 2 weeks as far as this, but we talked a little bit about with the manpower shortage that we're dealing with right now. Every single time the guy takes off, it's creating a 4 shift or an open shift at least. At the end of the year, there's always some guys who are like, I'm using a week because I have to, and it's use it or lose it. If we either buy out or allow a carryover or some combination of those 2 things, even the buyout will have almost guaranteed immediate savings. It's quite frankly cheaper to pay someone for their vacation time than it is to pay somebody time and a half to come in and cover a shift. So, we'll. My thought was just buyback straight. We haven't done it before. The only time we've really done it is when someone's been out injured and we had to pay them out for their time, but that's different. I mean, they've been out, they couldn't use their time. This would be essentially voluntarily saying I'm not gonna use it, or via incentive saying I'm not going to use it. My assumption was the same thing, 100%. Obviously, you can offer less, but the less you offer, the less incentive there is. And listen, it is about cost savings, but it's also about, you know, giving the guys who are down there working hard right now, covering a lot of shifts, the ability to say, you know, this is the right decision for me, and it's trying to create a few less forced shifts for the guys who are working. Obviously, we're not trying to encourage people not to take their time off. Like, I mean, you need time off. But there, again, I think most of our guys, especially once you've been here a few years, by the end of the year, they're kind of It's a forced pretty to- common problem. It turns into, man, who's gonna work in December? Like, that's, it's a common problem anyway, and it's gonna be even more so now, and there's gonna be nobody to fill these shifts with them all trying to take time off, and just something, again, it'll be an action item, do something with it, have some thought as far as what's palatable to each of you.
Okay.
So the blueprint event, that is this Thursday, the 23rd, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the YMCA. The purpose of that event is to share publicly the major goals that came out of the whole blueprint process. And then also to hopefully connect some people with the various entities that serve in and around the blueprint neighborhood area, connect them with opportunities to be part of the action steps to come. So for instance, the Berwick Arts Association, maybe we'll find some people who would love to get connected with the idea of bringing more art to our blueprint neighborhood space, and Connie will put them to good use, right? And you're ready for that. So, but you are one of 20-some entities that are coming?
25.
Great,
Over
yeah.
5%.
So, again, the goal is twofold. One, understand the major goals to come out of this plan, and 2, to connect with the various organizations that already exist that be a major part of making those goals happen. Did I get that pretty good, Connie?
Yep, hope to see you all then.
Okay, but again, we'd love to see all or any of you there. Again, the 23rd, this Thursday, 5 to 7. If you can't get the whole thing, we will have at least some light snacks available. So if you're not having time for dinner, you can at least top off a little bit to hold you over.
Any old business?
No.
All right, item 9, approval of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 2026-02, amending the time limited parking in the Borough of Berwick. Discussion.
And as a reminder on this is for the daycare right there on 2nd Street, which is of course a very busy street. Had requested a couple 15-minute parking spaces during traditional drop-off and pickup times. So
kinda got lost in the shuffle over here, that's what this is. It'd be 15-minute parking for 2 spaces right from the main entrance to that daycare on Second Street from 5:30 to 9:30 AM and from 3 to 5:30 PM, Monday through Friday. So, overnight parking would still be fine if you're there for some reason, between 9:30 and 3, you can be there longer without it being an issue. It would just be during, again, those traditional drop-off and pickup times, so we can have a nearby high turnover spot for, parents picking up and dropping off their kids.
Motion by Teresa, do I have a second? Second by Ray. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Denied, same sign. Okay, it passes. Consent agenda. Consider take action to approve all the items on the consent agenda as follows. Does anybody want anything removed?
Motion.
Motion to accept by Jay. Second by Mr. Learn. All in favor, say aye. Denied, same sign. New business. Consider take action to authorize the appointment of. Great.
You only did this as one, right, Damien? This would be for Will McKenna and Harold Morris. So he's aware, Will McKenna is actually the Montour County Sheriff. He's a member of the Columbia Montour SWAT team, and holds a valid Act 120 certification, and Harold Morris, Harold's probably got a good 20 years on the job, was in Hemlock for a long time, is actually currently a sergeant at Briar Creek Township Police Department. Currently said that they're going to come in, help as temporary part-time work to help cover some of these shifts.
And then we're just gonna do, I wasn't sure how many names we had, but I went a whole bunch of stuff floating around.
2, there's a third,
Yeah,
that's,
so we're gonna do, I'm gonna ask for a first motion specifically for Will McKenna, and we'll do that vote, and then a second motion specifically for Harold Morris, right?
Okay, so a motion for Will by Ray, a second by Teresa. All those in favor say aye. Denied, same sign. And then motion for Harold Morris. Motion by Teresa. Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor, say aye. Denied, same sign. Thanks. Consider and take action to appoint.
Daniel Elliott is, the name we're recommending. He is our current, top alternate. The zoning hearing board was, happy about the idea of bringing him on permanently as a full member.
To the zoning hearing board. So motion,
What was his last name?
Elliott, 2 L's, 2
Daniel.
T's.
Daniel Elliott. Motion by Teresa, may I have a second, please? Tom, all those in favor?
Aye.
Denied, same sign. Consider and take action to appoint.
From there, Dominic Bianchi is, I believe, the name that we are rolling with on this one. He was an applicant the first time around. He is professionally very qualified, and, interested, so.
Motion by Teresa, second? Second by Ray. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consider and take, Dominic's actually here tonight too. Consider and take action to accept with regrets the resignation of Charles Grassmoff from the Department of Public Works effective May 4th, 2026. Mr. Learn? Second, please. Teresa? All those in favor say aye. Denied, same sign. Consider take action to make a conditional offer of employment to.
Jason, we're all fine with, hiring tonight before I say a name, right? Sorry, any issues with hiring? Sorry, Jason Ocker.
Who was?
He was the second choice, the first time around. We were very clear with him that he was our second choice the first time around and said, keep us in mind. When we called him back and said, there's an opening, he was here, a day and a half later, ready to, meet and chat and get things through. Jack didn't have any questions, but Jack and the guys, I think we're all pretty happy for it.
Motion by Teresa, second please.
second.
By Ray, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Consider take action to approve employment agreement between Berwick Borough Manager Damian Scovink and the Borough of Berwick effective retroactive to January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2027. Motion. Motion by Jay, second by Tom. All those in favor? All opposed, same sign. Any added items? Citizens correspondence, personal appeals for non-agenda items, anything you'd like to talk to us about? Tell Charlie I said no.
I wish that if you
Councilor Gordon, I just wanna say, I have not seen any additional bait stations over there, nothing going on, that's just my comment. But my real question is this, in an article in the paper, it said they're cutting fines down on people who are fined. What incentive is it to?
It's not, I want to clarify, what it was is, our old ordinance, the way it was written was it required us to, anytime we wanted to cite anything through that specific mobile home ordinance, we would have to get Frank on board and go directly through county, and it would have been a much longer, painstaking process. This just allows us, it's not so much that the fine is less, it's the legal, it's not a misdemeanor, it's a, summary, thank you. So it just allows our code officers to take care of it at the magistrate's office without having to, wait for months for a trial date and Frank on all of it. And so, yeah, it's not about making it lighter, it's about making it snappier.
Yes, and then the second part of it is then they go after the landlord if it's not taken care of.
That's correct. We're
I'm
talking
not-
specifically.
I wasn't sure, and
the-
I was, in my head, I'm trying to think this through, and I'm saying,
And I know Nicole, that they passed, the council passed that last meeting, and I know Nicole was using it the next morning before I was a little late coming in that next morning, and Nicole was already using it before I got here. So, that's, enforcement has started based off of that. And again, we're essentially, think of last Tuesday as day zero. So I get that, it's, you've learned things take time, but essentially we had to reset that clock, which is frustrating. But yeah, that specific issue is one that is being addressed, by her to that specific property.
I was thinking, it's a shame that the people who get away with it, and they keep getting away with it. Maybe what you're trying to do by changing this is get them before too long, I don't know.
I hope.
Thanks,
Go ahead. Clock's running, huh?
Clock's running.
Good evening, Mr. Rafferty, Mr. Soblink, Mr. Kepner, Borough Council, members of the press, and the general public, interested citizens, and whoever else is here. So as you know, I'm a student of history law, and as our nation celebrates our 250th anniversary, we have to keep in mind both the letter and the spirit of the law in doing whatever we do. And as you know, the borough is involved in a massive overhaul of the zoning ordinance. And so one of the things, I have a number of concerns, and I've already brought some already, and I'll be bringing more. There was, my wife and I know of a couple in the borough that had a disagreement over a legal and code issue, and basically the issue revolved around the meaning of a word, in short, a definition. So the local district magistrate, the Honorable Brenda Hess Williams, never had a rule on the meaning of the word because the issue became moot. So this is very straightforward. I will just read it. 2026 zoning ordinance definitions. All definitions, and I would add of all words and all phrases in the updated zoning ordinance for the Borough of Berwick, Columbia County, PA 18603 shall be taken from Black's Law Dictionary Black's, which has been in publication since circa 1891. Anyone who's worked with the law knows that that is the standard reference in Anglo-American law. In a rare event of any words and or phrases not appearing in Black's Law Dictionary, definition shall be taken from either the Oxford English Dictionary, OED, and or Webster's Dictionary of the English Language. Any means of enforcement of all zoning in the Borough of Berwick, Columbia County, PA 18603, including but not limited to the so-called International Property Maintenance Code, and shall be required by borough ordinance or law to use definitions found in Black's Law Dictionary. So we don't need to make things complicated. We need to be very straightforward so it's fair to the borough to the government, but even more so in a free republic, it is fair to the citizens. Black's Legal Dictionary is a long-standing reference published since the 1890s. There are numerous public libraries in the 26th Judicial District, which covers Columbia and Montour counties. I was briefly at a public library. Yes, they do have a hard copy on the shelf, and I know of at least one other library in the 26th Judicial District that has one. Of course, it can be also accessed online. So this legal matter became moot, but it could come up down the road. Now, I know Mr. Soblank just recently mentioned that you all were given a list of definitions. Well, to be honest, Blacks goes from A to Z, from abandonment all the way to zoning. Zoning fills up most of the letter Z in Black's Law Dictionary. I glanced at that today very briefly. So we don't need to, rehash a lot of things. We should just basically use the standard reference, and then everyone will be treated fairly and openly, and you can reference it, and whatever it says there, that's what the word means, and we don't, because some of the enforcement, I would allege, of codes and zoning in the Borough of Berwick, my wife would concur, is very arbitrary. And this is to reduce arbitrariness and to be very straightforward and fair. So you feel free to look up Black's Law Dictionary. If you have any other questions for me on, to the extent that I know, based on my own personal journey in life, I will answer those. I do have a few extra copies, if I don't have enough for everyone here, a few extra copies if anyone wants to have a copy of this. So thank you very much. Any questions from anyone about this? Mr. Kepner? No?
I don't know that, very frankly, this is enforceable, because if the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania has ruled in a particular way, I don't think the Borough of Berwick can say arbitrarily, well, we're gonna use Black's Law Dictionary, even though the Supreme Court has said something else. But I don't know whether we have to get into that.
Having said that, just very briefly, I don't want to get long-winded here. My wife and I, due to personal conscience, we argued an appellate case before the Superior Court, because you don't get an attorney for a civil matter. And I've read numerous decisions, and Black's Law Dictionary documents like the Mayflower Compact and Magna Carta are routinely referenced in their decisions.
May I have one of those?
Just barely.
May I have one of those, please?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Copies in the back here.
Curtis Morgan. My address is 111 10th Street, Berwick. So I was just curious about the towing rotation and how you guys determine on who gets the car passes every time.
Just generically speaking, for the most part, if it's a crash, we just ask them. We don't pick. We say, hey, who do you want to tow?
Right.
That's usually about the extent of it. When it comes to vehicles that we are specifically towing, it's done based on the rotation of tow companies that put their names in. There's a whole list of criteria of essentially what the tow company has to have and things they do or don't do. Somebody had told me earlier that somebody was potentially coming that was looking to join the tow list.
Well, for sure, I'm definitely looking to do that. But my only question is, how would everybody choose Welch's every single time?
I don't know if it's just a name recognition thing, and it's not Welch's every time. Just last week, I was specifically called somebody for Schaefer's, I called for Midnight. It's like, so it is, I don't know if it's just name recognition over the years. Their price point tends to be a little bit less at this point, but if you wanna be added to the list, there's just some paperwork to fill out, you can absolutely do that.
I mean, for sure, I love
Okay.
I've tried multiple times to come and nobody seems to lead me in the right direction.
Okay, I don't know how much longer we have here, I don't know if you wanna hang out to the end, or if I just meet you on the side, quick, get your information.
For sure. Yeah.
Anybody else think-
Anybody else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion by Tom and a second by Ray. Adjourn.
Yes. We have one of these.